Hi there, my name is Gabriel. I am also known as the Finance Catalyst. I am a Christian, an entrepreneur, and the facilitator of the program on YouTube FinTacts, where we talk about financial matters. On today's episode of my podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you something very, very important. It's really key to your financial well-being and to your financial health. It's called budgeting. You might want to ask me, why is it so important to have a budget? Why is it so important to create a budget? Why is it so important to follow the right steps when it comes to creating an effective budget? On this episode of my podcast, I'm going to be giving you 5 important steps to creating a budget, a very healthy budget. One of the best decisions you can make for your financial future is to create and to stick to a budget. Taking a deep look at your finances, sometimes you observe that there are so many things that you want to do, financially, but it's really important to create a budget, especially when you're thinking of buying a property, or you are thinking of retirement, or you are trying to make a large purchase for something. It's very important to put a budget together. It will help you to really have a structure and a direction as to where your finances are or where your money are going to. This is very, very important. So on this episode, I'm going to be giving you 5 important steps on how you could create a budget. So number 1, determine your income. You have to determine your income. This amount should be your monthly take-home pay after taxes, and other deductions. It's important to know how much you're getting after taxes, that's your net income, and it helps you to create an effective budget. You see, it helps you to create an effective budget. If you don't have a clear indicator of how much you get in after tax on a monthly basis, it can be already a challenge for you. So it's important to know your net income, what you get on a monthly basis, your after you've made your deduction. If you have other income, such as maybe child support or alimony payments or rental income from your properties that you have, you can include this also in when it comes to evaluating your total net income for the month. So this is one of the steps you need to follow when you are creating an effective budget. You have to determine your income. Number 2, you have to determine your expenses. Just the way you follow your income by understanding the things that you really want to achieve when it comes to receiving your income every month. You have to also be able to determine your expenses. This may be the most difficult part, as you would need to gather maybe quite a bit of data. You want to record everything that you spend your money on, while your regular monthly expenses such as rent, your mortgage, your car payments, your insurance should be easy to calculate. You also need to include averages, averages for things like haircuts, like your clothing, your vacation, and other expenses. You also need to be honest with this. You have to be very intentional about it. And also indulgent spending. You need to also take note of indulgent spending that inevitably creeps into your daily life, such as maybe a coffee run or a lunch with friends. You need to account for all these expenses. They need to be accounted for. And you need to take a look at your last few bank statements, to see where you may be spending all your money, where your money goes into. It's also easy to forget those small purchases, but they also add up to your expenses. So, you might say, okay, I paid this amount for a taxi or something. These are small expenses, but they all add up to your expenses. So, number 2, when you want to create a very effective budget, you need to be able to determine the amount of expenses that you spend on a monthly basis. This is very, very key to your budget. Number 3, you need to choose your budget plan. Now you might want to ask me, okay, what are you talking about when it comes to choosing a budget plan? Now that you have an idea, for example, of your income, because I told you about determining your income, and now you have an idea of your income and also your expense. You will need to decide what type of budget you are looking for. There are several types of budgets. There are several options that you can consider. Some of them are the zero budget envelope system or the 50-30-20 plan. These are two style and two structures of budget that you could actually consider. Now I'm going to give you more details. I'll explain to you what the zero budget envelope system means. A zero budget envelope system is a kind of system where you allocate every penny of your income to a specific category, such as your expense, maybe your debt pay downs and savings. You allocate a specific every penny of your every penny of your income to a specific category. Once you've done that, the goal at the end of this particular budget cycle is to have zero balance. So once you've allocated this amount, to the amount that you are actually receiving, every penny of that amount, you have allocated it to a particular area. The end goal is for you to be able to have each amount, every penny allocated in such a way that you don't have any balance left. You see, you have a zero balance. This is the first option, which is the zero budget system that you could also take advantage of. The second option is the envelope system. So this envelope system works best with cash. With this system, you allocate a specific amount of cash to different envelopes, and once the money is gone, you can't spend any more cash in that category. So you know that for this envelope system, there's a particular amount of money that you put into that envelope that you have to spend for a particular thing. And once that money is completely exhausted, you know that you cannot add any other money into that envelope. So that is it. That means you cannot add any more, and that's gone. So this is also another structure of creating a budget that you could actually adopt that could be of benefit to you. The final structure I want to talk to you about is the 50-30-20 plan. You might want to ask me, okay, what is this plan all about? Now, the 50-30-20 plan allocates 50% of your income to expenses that are considered needs, such as your rent, your utilities, your groceries, or gas. So it might be that you allocate 50% of your income to the expenses that are considered the needs that you want to get rid of. These are things that are more important to you. So you allocate 50% of this amount to these specific needs. So once you do that, the next 30% goes towards your towards wants, things that you possibly might want that are not necessarily important, but you might just want them. So you can allocate 30% of your income to this. This could be something like maybe travel or restaurant meals or hobbies. So you allocate 30% of that to these kind of expenses. Then the last 20% should go to your savings or debt reduction. So like I said, the first 50% goes to the 50% of this particular plan in your budget goes to the things that you want. These are things that are considered basic wants, needs that are very important, like your rent, like your utilities, your groceries, and the next 30%, and the next 30% goes towards your other expenses that might be considered as travel expense or restaurant or meals or hobbies, just hanging out and all that. Then the final 20% of that income has to go to your savings and any possible debt reduction. If you took a loan from the bank or you credit card loan, this from this 20% you can actually be able to offset those debt. So this structure, this 50-30-20 structure is also a very effective plan when you are creating your budget. And now, when you choose all this plan, you need to choose the one that fits your goals best, because it's very important. I talked about the zero budget structure. I talked about the envelope system. I talked about the 50-30-20 plan. So with these three different plans, you have to choose the plan that best fits your goals, and then create your budget with it. You can do this by using like a spreadsheet, for example, or a paper and a pen, or even one of many apps that are available today that could help you to even be able to execute a clear budget, accurate budget. Any method will work, but make sure to choose the one that is easiest for you to use and track. Very, very important. So, having said that, the step number 4 in creating a clear budget, an effective budget, is to adjust your habits. This is very important. The whole purpose of creating your budget is to get control over your finances. That's the goal. You must gain control over your finances. You most likely find out very quickly that you need to adjust your habits. Maybe when you observe that you are spending too much money on things that are unnecessary. You just need to now take control of that. Be disciplined about that. I've talked about discipline in one of my episodes. You can refer to that. Financial discipline, very important. Perhaps you might find that you are spending more for a car than you can afford, or that your grocery bill is higher than you expected. Then you have to determine what you can cut out. What areas you need to increase your initial budget, or do some searching or for lower prices. Now is a good time to see if services are available at a lower cost or not. So you can change your insurance plans, have less expensive internet providers that are available. There are several internet providers that are available. Try to see how you can get the best quality with the lowest cost, and you can also take a look at each expense that you make and determine what if there's any changes that you can make, to see how this expense is reduced. This is very, very important to your budget when you are creating an effective budget. Number 5, which is my final point, is to leave the plan. Leave the plan. You've set a plan, so you have to leave your plan. Your budget is an ever-changing plan. You may have to adjust regularly as your expense changes, but you might think of paying off a loan, or maybe get a raise at work. Then when these things happen, you need to revisit your plan, and make sure that you are still allocating money where it's needed. What your budget looks like at age 20 may vastly be different from that what your budget will look like when you are 65. And you have to be always intentional about that. Try as much as possible to evaluate your budget on a regular basis. Look at your plan. Money management and budgeting can seem intimidating sometimes, but it's worth your time. It's worth your time, and financial security it's also worth your time and financial security to control your finances. So planning ahead can really help you during time of emergency, or help even make your dreams of travel or home ownership happen. So your budget is really, really one of the most important, powerful financial tool, and your future is worth it. You see, your future is worth it. So take your budgeting very seriously. It's really important to note that, when it comes to budgeting, we cannot overemphasize on it. It's really, really key. If you want to give your income, your finances a sense of direction, and in the sense that you are very clear and intentional of how you want to spend your money, then you need to take into account budgeting. It's very, very important. So, having said all this, I hope you benefited from this podcast, this particular episode of my podcast. I want to go through the 5 steps that I told you about when you want to create your budget. First, you need to be very, very intentional with determining your income. Know exactly what you're earning. And number 2, I said determining your expense. Know exactly how you are spending your money, where this money is going to, and what kind of expenses they are going to. Number 3, I told you about choosing your budget plan, and with choosing your budget plan, I gave you 3 options that you could adopt in order to have a clear direction in that regard. I talked about the zero budget, I talked about the envelope system, and I talked about the 50-30-20 plan. And then I talked about number 4, which is adjusting your habits, to suit your budget. Try to adjust your habit. Don't spend money unnecessarily on things that are not important. Try to cut your expenses, very, very important. And number 5, I talked about leave the plan. Leave the plan. When you have the plan, you need to follow it to the letter. Make sure that from time to time, you review your plan. Like I said, the fact that you have a budget at the age of 30, that same budget might not be the same budget you can create when you are 65, because there are other things you might also have in mind towards that time. You might be planning retirement, for example, and trying to invest in some other things. So it's always important to leave the plan. So having said all this, I want to say thank you for listening to this episode. If this episode was really, really of benefit to you, I would like to hear from you. Kindly leave your feedbacks, and I would be so glad to appreciate all that your comments, or if you have questions that you want me to address, I'll be so glad to hear from you. So until I see you again in my next episode, I want you to always remember that you need to be intentional about your finances. You have to stay healthy, stay financially safe. Very, very important. And I'll see you again in my next episode. Until then, stay well and stay financially healthy. Cheers.